All right, today we're looking at piecewise functions again, but this time we're going to see what the function equation actually looks like. Piecewise function notation, we have one function that consists of two linear equations. They're not always going to be linear, but for our case, they are. So I still have my slope and my y-intercept for two equations. But remember, in these piecewise functions we learned yesterday, we only graph them in a part of the graph. So I would finish with a sentence like, only graph when x is less than 3. That's what this is over here. So this tells you where to graph. So it has nothing to do with the actual function. It doesn't have anything to do with how you graph. It just tells you where to graph. We look here to see what to graph, and this is where to graph it. So if we look at our first example, we have graphed the following piecewise function. F of x equals 1/2 x plus 1. And I'm going to graph this when x is less than 2. And then I also have x minus 8, but I'm going to graph that when x is greater than 2. So again, I'm going to start this by putting a dotted line where x is 2. So this is my barrier. This is showing me where one graph's going to end, and then the other one will start. So I'm going to start with 1/2 x plus 1. I know that the last dot, or the last point, is going to be at 2. So I'm going to evaluate when my x value is 2, what is my y value? So 1/2 times 2 is 1, 1 plus 1 is 2. So the first point that I can graph is going to be 2, 2, and it's going to be an open because there's no equal to sign. So I'm going to start at 2, 2. I'm going to put an open point. My slope is 1/2, but I'm moving to the left. So instead of going up 1 and to the right 2 every time, I need to go to the left. So I'm going to go down 1 and over 2. Because if I do this, you can see I have a positive slope, and my line is still positive. I'm just working backwards. So I'm going to attempt to graph that first line. My second line at x minus 8, that also starts at 2. So I'm going to evaluate that equation when x is 2 to get a y value of -6. So I have my point at 2, -6. And I know it's going to be closed because there's an equal to sign. So again, right here is just telling me where to graph. So I'll start at my point, 2, -6. I'm going to make a closed point there. And then I have a slope of 1. So I'm going to go up 1 to the right 1, up 1 to the right 1. So I took two separate linear lines and graphed them on the same graph and just listened to where I need to graph them. So I have 1/2 x plus 1 on this half of my graph, but I have x minus 8 on this half. So this is day 2 of piecewise functions. It's very similar, the exact same thing we did yesterday, except instead of giving you a sentence of where to graph, I'm writing it as two inequalities. So now you have your try your own, where I want you to graph the following piecewise functions, -x minus 2 and 2x minus 1, and you're going to graph it, one on the left side of -1 and one on the right side of -1. Good luck!